Hey, everybody. I want to introduce you to my friend, Stewart Pearce. Stewart.
Well,
That's the shortest intro possible, but
what
yeah.
an honor to be here. Always sharing space with you is always a great honor, a delight, and also highly informative. So
uh,
I'm really
Touching.
glad to be here.
I mean, one of the reasons I really appreciate our friendship is that the authenticity and the generosity with which you speak. And I say, create me, you create me with your voice. And I've always received that powerfully from the
Mm,
time I remember we had dinner at that beautiful Italian restaurant in London many
mm,
years ago. And every time we meet. So I really appreciate that. But I do want to say a few more things about you. We've been friends for quite a while, but only recently have I really started to delve into your work and been impacted by it. Um, and I mean, there's a lot of, I love that the voice is really a doorway into something much, much deeper. And I've
mm,
loved the stories that you shared with me about people and incredibly influential people in the world who you've entered through the doorway of voice, but then you've helped them to develop a connection to authenticity, and coming from love. I mean, that's one of the most moving things for me, to know that you work with leaders whose names we can't even legally speak. And then those people care about the kinds of deep, loving conversation. Not all of them, but some of them, a lot of them care about that deep, loving conversation. That's really an encouraging thought. I find that inspiring and beautiful. And so recently I had you come and do some work with a small group that I work with, right? The Circle of Kings. And understanding, I'm so excited to share with my community the power of the signature note. I mean, the experience of my body and my voice at 44 years old has changed. I have an awareness of something that's been there for 44 years that I didn't have that whole time. And now
mm,
suddenly I can feel it. I can feel my voice in a new way, and it's opening up a whole new level of power and internal awareness for
mm.
truth. So I'm not going to get into the details because I'll let you share more. And then at our event and in their course, which we'll be talking about in a minute, people can learn even more. So I think what it would be, maybe just at a high level, maybe you can give people a kind of a long stroke of your 50 years of professional background and maybe the essence of what you do with the power of the voice.
Wow.
Mm,
Well, the key thing, wherever I am, whether I'm working with creatives in the form of actors or then moving into the creative industries like the advertising industry, or
mhm,
indeed, I was L'Oreal's presentation consultant for about 7 years in the 80s, 80, no, 90s.
mm,
And then moving into working with the movers and the shakers, the change makers, the thought keepers. Wherever I am, it's always about finding this secret that you just imparted of
mm,
the fact that we each have a signature note or a signature
mm.
sound. I speak of a signature note, which sometimes can often confuse people because they think, oh, well, if I find that one note, then
Right.
I'm going to be absolutely, I'm going to become a famous person, an important
Mm,
person,
mm.
a powerful person. And in fact, it's actually a resonance that arises out of the frequency of the note, which therefore comes from the whole of us, rather than, I mean, if we look into the digital voice, it's right there, So
Yeah.
this is what concerns me about AI at the moment. I mean, there are many
Mm,
benefits to AI, but if we carry on sounding like this, we're actually not really sounding the
yeah.
voice of our soul. So, in fact, I wrote this morning, finding the voice of the soul is a lifelong
Mm,
imperative, whereas
mm,
finding the voice of the digital is a moment's click.
mm. I have to say, I have to add in something. This is just for my analytical mind, because I remember knowing, I mean, I grabbed your book, Alchemy of Voice, years ago, but I never really opened it. And I can see in hindsight, it's because I had a preconception around the voice as like, yes, it can sound better, just like some sounds can sound better than other sounds, but I didn't get the depth of why one sound could have more power than other sounds, other than the way it hits our eardrums. And so
Mm,
what you taught me and what I've discovered through reading your book with Diana, Voice of Change,
mm,
and other conversations we've had, is how much the voice, and this connects exactly to my work and why I wanted you to come to our event. The voice is a tool of creation of being in
mm,
self and in other.
mm,
And really the note that we are using in our speaking it makes a big difference in how powerfully we're able to condition our heart and our mind and to express our being in a way that hasn't meet and move the world.
Mm.
And I didn't understand that before. I thought it was just, oh, one sounds nicer than others. Because obviously when you switch from the high pitched voice to the signature note, it sounds nicer, but it's about so much more than sound. So how for you, do you think about and talk about the voice as a pathway to self-mastery?
Well, the key is harmony.
Mm,
Because once we find our note, we feel a sensation, as you were just describing, of an energy moving all the way through our beings, not just in our
mm,
heads, but physically, emotionally, mentally, and if you like, within the inspirational body or the spiritual body,
mm,
which this time, as we record in May 2023, is receiving an emergent interest of vast proportions.
mm,
Mind, body, spirit movement, or the human potential movement, is one of the greatest growth industries on our planet. More people
mhm,
are interested in tuning into, well, how can I find a lifestyle? How can I rearrange my lifestyle to produce greater harmony so that I
mm,
feel well-being physically, emotionally, mentally, and if you like, also spiritually. And so
yeah,
finding our voice is a question of finding a way of producing that harmony all the way through our beings. So
mm,
we feel greatness, we feel ourselves to be radiant, we feel
mhm,
ourselves to be moving into a level of creative excellence that
mm,
hitherto had not been fully part of our experience. And we were feeling fractured, not
mm,
harmonized, but fractured.
mm, mm, mm. Yeah. So I'll just say a little bit more. I mean, I don't think I've shared with you that much about how I believe this work will fit perfectly in with our weekend. But let me say that. So essentially what we're doing is we're helping people to become witness to the way that they create obstacles to expressing their greatness, first by just having them be able to dream wild dreams, because we hobble our dreaming to, stop daydreaming. So we'll help people to expand, to see a grandiosity, even a childlike grandiosity for their life. And then that will very conveniently bring up all the blocks and obstacles around who we think we are. Then we'll
Mm,
give them a process to help them move through that. And then we have, once you're liberated in an embodied way from those ideas, there's a spontaneous moment, I'm sure you're aware of it, that spirit speaks, intuition speaks, and it tells you the truth of who you are.
mm,
And then we grab those words. I reminded of who was it? Was it the woman who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, that says when a poem comes, it like hits her in the back of the head and she has to like grab it before it like runs off. It's like these words come and we grab those words. And then
mm,
there's a practice that I have of speaking with my voice words of who I am and what I have and what I'm grateful for in a way that actually breathes life into it and ignites it. And I've been teaching how, you speak it, but I've never went into like the voice that you use to speak it. And I just feel like this is going to be like jet fuel on that work.
mm,
Um, because I've already experienced that through Diana Voice of Change. And I just bought your course, which you've just launched, which
mm.
I would love you to tell us about, because I mean, like this is one of those things, like it's a simple idea that once you get it, it can be life-changing. And I don't want people to think, oh, it's an online course or book, and to underestimate the fact that this could be one of the most valuable things you ever invest in your life because of what it opens for you. So please tell us about the course you've just launched.
Well, we're talking about the fact that it's a path to self-mastery, aren't we?
Mm-hmm. Mm,
Because by tuning into certain references, the references that you're given, we begin to perceive where we are excellent and where we're not so excellent. And so
mm-hmm.
begin to define, this is a point of holding within my body. I don't talk about blocks. I talk about also stuckness. I talk about
Mm.
holding points.
I like
Because
that. Yeah.
actually everything is just simply held in a moment
Mm-hmm.
of time on a subatomic level. And if we have the ability to tune into how that makes us feel, because feeling is the language of the soul, we have an automatic ability of moving the negative into positive.
Mm,
Then the magic starts to happen. And I feel
mm-hmm.
that's the magic that you're talking about. Because as you reference all of those degrees that you've just shared with me, we're talking about inspiration, how
Mm-hmm.
inspirare, the inspirazione, which in Latin, of course, means a divine influence, how
Mm-hmm.
that comes in. And of course, the way that we become principally inspired is by breathing.
Mm,
To breathe
mm-hmm.
in is to inspire, and to
Yes.
breathe out is to expire. So if we can
Right.
actually use the breath to bring us into harmony, we automatically release the tensions from our bodies, all of the subatomic particles begin to move into harmony, they move into
Hmm.
consort. And as a
Mm.
result, we feel good, we feel a sense of
Mm.
well-being. And that's when we become the remarkable people that we are. Because
Yeah.
we start to wonder and have
Mm.
awe about the majesty
Mm.
of what we're creating, the magic of what we're creating. And then we know that the wonderful ability of universal splendor comes into action, all sorts of
Mm.
changes within our lives, because actually we are the universe looking at itself.
Yeah. Interesting. So actually that just gave me a new angle, a new addition on like how using my signature note is impacting me, because I was thinking about it as when I'm speaking from my signature note, particular words, and then I'm creating new patterns of meaning around those ideas of who I am and what the world is. It's happening, that patterning is happening with more energy and power because of that resonance. But also what you're basically saying is also just spending time in the expression of voice, absent from the meaning, as actually spending time exercising that resonance, and it's creating harmony. It's almost like I could be singing a mantras of a language I don't even know the meaning of, but with my signature note, and that would be kind of activating and harmonizing the body, maybe in a way of, the same kind of similar way that we create healing, but instead of just doing it silently in our mind, we're kind of is more of a physiological impact.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
yeah.
hearing. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because sound affects matter.
yeah.
You know, and sound, as we know, is at the beginning of creation. And we talk about the Big Bang, not the big silence,
Right,
at the
right.
beginning
Yeah.
of the scientific model of creation. But
Mm-hmm.
then we get into the core of if we find our note, if we find our signature sound in the very middle of our physiology, we automatically feel the whole of us come into balance.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm.
fragmentation that the doing principle of the mind often creates, which is
Mm.
largely caught up with shall I, shan't I, will I, won't I? You know, the two
Mm-hmm.
hemisphere arguing with one another.
Mm.
Most of us, although we've been educated, socialized, and conditioned into being doing people, most of
Yeah.
the time we're not doing what we could be doing because they say so. They being those distant voices in our heads when we've
Mm.
been brandished with stupidity or we've been relegated and subjugated by the fact that what do you mean you haven't read that book, you know, or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever the substance was. Somebody, a client, has said to me the other day, you do know about such and such, don't you? And I said, yes, I think so. And they said, well, have you read it? And I said, no, I haven't actually read that book. What? You haven't read it? And I said, okay, now wait a moment. Getting caught up in this game of diminishing
Mm.
because I haven't read a certain book.
Mm.
Perhaps I have read it in another situation. You know,
Mm.
it doesn't have to be.
Mm.
Anyway, all of those games and those psychodramas that we play. And really,
Mm.
what I am talking about is bringing ourselves into center, bringing
Mm-hmm.
ourselves to a point of harmony where we become effortlessly
Mm.
the thriving beings that we are, rather than striving,
Mm.
the doing impulse.
Mm. 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 So,
So
so yeah,
ramifications are really vast.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, as you come into harmony and you're in coherence, and I mean, I always say you become magnetic. Oh, you've used the word magnetic as well.
Yes.
Which, people are drawn to that. People are drawn to authenticity. People are drawn to love. And I
Yeah,
don't think it's just about what you attract. I think that when you move something or anybody or people towards love, you're creating more love in the world, right? 'Cause receiving love and giving love is generative of love.
absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the real core of the magnetic voice,
Mm.
which in many ways is stimulated within me,
Hmm.
A, wandering around the world, looking into people's eyes and hoping that I'm going to find their hearts open. And
Mm.
often I've been disappointed. So that's the
Mm.
first place. So, what can I do? What can I be to help people understand that what I'm seeking is love or tenderness or brilliance
Mm.
or
Mm.
wonder, which allows me to move into harmony, into equanimity with that person. So we have a great conversation, and
Mm.
thereby love is created. This is a space where love
Mm.
is
Mm.
made, you know. And the second thing,
Yeah.
because I'm working with great speakers who at times are not so great because they
Hmm.
themselves are nervous or fearful
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
demanded of in a certain way, whether it be by their own beings or by external stimuli, and how they can move into this wonderful refraction of their own light
Mm.
so that they become truly magnetic and then
Mm.
become radiant. And
Yeah,
that's why
that,
I created the Magnetic Voice
tell
Academy.
us. Yes, tell us more.
So this is the course that you were referring to, which is
Hmm.
part of, as we were saying, the imperative of coming into your wonderful 2 day
Hmm.
conference. Calling it conference symposium.
I don't know. Intensive, power intensive. Yeah,
Intensive.
intensive. It will be intensive. Yeah. For now. Yeah.
And so the Magnetic Voice online course are really videos that are actually based on 12 major steps of me
Mm.
providing masterclass teaching in the moment via video, from discovering your signature note all the way through the potentials to the radiant presenter, and defining
Wow.
what is it to be truly full of presence.
Mm.
How do our voices evoke this and then allow this to be communicated into the world, so that
Mm.
literally you can be standing in a presentation or sitting in a presentation, either on your phone or on Zoom, and whatever you say is heard. Whatever
Yeah.
you say is a mark of your own excellence. And as a
Mm.
result of that, the people that you're communing with automatically respond with their excellence.
Mm. 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 And also my experience is that when you speak in this way, the things that you speak are heard by yourself in a way that, I mean, because we can talk and not even hear what we're saying, and it cannot impact us. We cannot believe it. But when you
Mm.
speak in this way, you're speaking from truth, and it informs you as to the truth. So I find it to be, it
Mm.
expresses in all directions, including inward.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
yeah. It brings us
So
into flow, doesn't it? It brings us
it
into flow.
does.
This
Oh,
is the
that's the other
key.
thing I was going to say. When you were talking about like people having fear, anxiety, like when I speak in my signature note, my heart relaxes. And so to have a voice that you remember with your mind, you can go to, it's kind of like if there was a room in my house and I could just go in there and I could just relax, like when I'm stressed out with the kids or my wife or something, that would be kind of handy, like a magical room. And now it's like a magical voice. When I just use this voice in the midst of a conversation, my heart relaxes, which means my body relaxes. So it's a
Mm,
tool that has many different uses. So
mm,
I
mm.
want to create an offer. I mentioned it to you before, but I'll pretend that we're just creating it now. No, we have a deal with the ticket price for the event in London, Creating Love and Money event, is $14.97. So I'm going to create a coupon code. I'll do it right after we shoot this video, called Stewart. So just type in the word Stewart at the checkout page. They'll get 20% off the ticket price, and I will buy Stewart's course for you. So if you use the code Stewart, you'll get both 20% off the Creating Love and Money. You'll get to be with us for 2 days, including with Stewart on Saturday afternoon. And you'll get Stewart's new course, which I think the full price is what, $800? I think.
A little bit more.
All right. A
Yeah, the
little
full
bit more
price,
than 800.
a little bit more. But
Yeah.
we're using this opportunity of launch, because I've just last Monday,
Hmm.
which would have been May the 17th or something.
Hmm.
We just, my team and I have got the course together, and we're launching it into
Sure.
the world. So it's this wonderful special offer that will
So
carry
yeah,
through into your extraordinary course at the end
great.
of July.
Well, I'll include a link in case
But only
that
for
for some
you,
reason, but
special
only
offer.
for us. Yeah. If you can't come to our event for any reason, some incredible reason that means a mountain can't be moved, I wouldn't know what that would be. But if there was one and you couldn't come, but you really want a Stewart's course, I'll also include a link so you can go and buy it directly on your own. But if you do come to our course, give you the discount, and I'll buy the Stewart's course for you. Well, just take me a day or so to grab your email and buy it and send it to you. But that's our deal. So Stewart, I'm so excited to be with you in London.
It's
And
I'm very excited. I mean, can we do it tomorrow, please?
well, it'd be nice. A bit of a flight. I think I'd be asleep by the time we got there. Yeah. We'll do it on the 30th of June and 1st of July. So I'll see you on the 1st of July, if not before.
Thank you for this wonderful opportunity. It's great.
You're so
I'm
welcome.
looking forward to spending the time with you.
Yeah, me too. Thank you, Stuart. Bye-bye.